Hey guys, sorry to cut off your regularly scheduled podcast that you were listening to on your way to work, where Sam
and Bryan
are here to tell you about This, That, and the Other.
A comedy podcast filled with 1 hour of shenanigans.
Where you will find such funny things as political discussions,
The reason why the earth is hollow.
dogs on unicycles.
Can a banana be used to save a man's life?
Who knows, but you should subscribe to This, That, and the Other to find out.
Find us on any podcasting streaming site, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, CastBox, and even YouTube.
May God be with you.
Music, and I was about to be like, Sam, play me in.
I mean, at the end of the day, you can do this post, no?
Well, post. Where's the magic in that? All right, guys. Welcome to a very random and out of the blue, this, that, and the other. Well, let's call it a temporary. We'll call it a temporary tattoo. A one shot.
A one shot.
I like that. We'll do that. We'll do a one shot. I am your friendly neighborhood co-host, Bryan. Today I am Sans Sam. Sam is at work today, but this is an interview that I can't pass up. I have a good buddy of mine here in town. We're here meeting at the lovely dark room off of world-famous Melrose. If you are in the Los Angeles area, come on by. Have yourself a drink. Lovely staff, lovely people, okay prices. But they are allowing us to record here today, so I do want to say thank you. So if the audio does sound a little bit different than it usually does, ignore that. It's all for the moment. But let's just get into it. Who are you, my guy? Let's go with well, I'll tell you what. Matter of fact, this is the level, and again, this is all audio, guys, so you're not going to find this on YouTube. This is all going to be on iTunes, Stitcher, CastBox, Spotify. Make sure that you subscribe and like. Today is going to be an introduction video, an introduction audio, I guess, for our new, what do you call it, like a pilot? What do you want to call it?
A pilot would be the best word, honestly. Like, if we break it down, sitcom level or show level, at the end of the day, it's, we're going to make it work for what it is and what it does on some real G shit, you feel me?
So I'm here with, we're going to call, let's think of it as deep mouth. We're going to go with, or deep throat. Deep mouth is my ex-wife. We're going to call him Forever Cabron. All right.
It's FC, just to keep it short.
We'll keep it, yeah, for FC for everybody. But FC is our man on the ground. He is our Hispanic Cultural Advisor. That's right. That's our HCA, Hispanic Cultural Advisor. He operates out of sunny Phoenix, Arizona. Not really Phoenix, but if you really knew where it was. Yeah, exactly. If you really knew it was, then you wouldn't listen anymore. But FC has a unique I guess perspective on life in that he is a proud, what do you call it,
Mesoamerican individual. You feel me? Like we're knocking out the Latino, we're knocking out the Latinx. We're trying to be Mesoamerican because at the end of the day, that's what our culture derives from. You feel me? Like we're coming from the Mesoamerican, Aztec, Mayan, Olmec cultures. You feel me? Like we have our own central group of ideas, our central group of religion, our central group of everything. So, at the end of the day, to a homie like myself, it's Mesoamerican. It's not Chicano, it's not Latino, it's not Latinx, it's Mesoamerican because we're trying to go back to our roots, dog.
That's a big thing, too, and that's what I really, or I guess not necessarily a passion project because that means that nothing's going to come out of it. For me, this is a true, genuine effort because it's something that I've been wanting to do for a long, long time, ever since we've met each other back in Arizona, is to have a valid outlet for Hispanic outlook, not only about the culture but about social events. So what is that? What is that going to do with the show?
I mean, at the end of the day, what I want the show to reflect is the idea of, if you listen to the word Chicano, you hear ni de aquí ni de allá, neither from here or from there. I want to bunk that. Because at the end of the day, when you deal with your parents, when you deal with your elders, when you deal with the elder community of within our culture, it's no longer about here nor there. It's about the level of respect that we give each other. The level of respect we give our culture, our roots, the place where we come from. You feel me? Like at the end of the day, when it comes to our parents, we respect them, but our grandparents, we revere them. Mm-hmm. And it's going back to the idea of revering our roots that I'm here about.
Right. And that's what's so appealing because as most of our listeners know, I'm a Hispanic male. I'm
props
a
out to you for
Colombian.
being that.
Yeah, hey, not my choice.
Hey, you out here,
But I love it. I'm blessed nonetheless. And I've said this several times before on the show. I've never had a finger on the pulse of Hispanic culture, and it's something that I maybe shame's a bad word for it, but it is something that I kind of felt bad about.
I mean, regret's not a bad word, neither shame is, because at the end of the day, what you feel is valid. You feel me? Like, if you feel shame of not knowing your roots, like, all you can do is enrich yourself in them.
That's my effort here, really, and that's kind of why we're doing this one-off is I kind of want, the 15, 20, 25 people who listen to us on a regular basis to kind of give an idea of what I'm trying to do here. And
I'm with you for that, you feel me? I appreciate you for giving me this platform or giving me a moment,
Yeah.
You feel me? Like, the idea that you and I are going to move forward through this and create something dope makes me hype, makes me excited, you feel me?
Yeah. Well, let's give them a little bit of background. How do we know each other?
We met through online groups, honestly. Like, you feel me? There's no other way to frame it or frame it. Like, at the end of the day, like, we came through the internet.
Right.
And that's the thing about this that's automatically groundbreaking and brand new. Because this kind of dialogue exists through the internet, dog. Like, give yourself 30 seconds to understand where we're coming from. We're both taking a shit in a porta-john,
Right.
talking to each other.
A digital porta potty.
That
Yeah.
part, dog. Like, you feel me? Like, you hop on the internet for 30 seconds when you get a break of your daily life. I join in a break of my daily life. You feel me?
Right.
When I go on social media, I'm taking a shit.
And that's a very, it's figuratively and like in a real sense, because you're putting everything out there. It's
In
not
time,
clean.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't what's the word I'm looking for? That doesn't.
Make sure you eat that mic.
Oh, my bad. It doesn't that in which you're not doing anything productive with your life. You feel
Right.
me? There's a Tupac lyric that says, "Hey, yo, Pac, do something productive with your life." Social media isn't it.
Yeah.
Unless you're spreading the message about, case in point, the Amazon right now. It's on fire, you feel me? But the reason it's on fire is because of capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
What are you really talking about? Are you talking about the forest burning because of capitalism? Or are you talking about the forest burning just because it's burning in general? Do you understand the way money moves?
And that's the thing, for me personally that I learned. Well, learned and just discovered when I had my conversations with you when I was in Arizona, was just that level of roots taking, and just the idea that it wasn't something that was based upon about our identities to other cultures, i.e. white, black, Asian. It was about our identities with ourselves, and it was about who we were trying to find out, who we were.
On some real street shit, or G shit, the way I like to call it. Like, at the end of the day, when it comes down to that conversation, it's like, how many within our culture are having it?
Exactly. Did you figure out a title yet?
Honestly, the title is "What's Hood," just to figure out what set tripping is. Bring motherfuckers back into the one time. And if you feel like you like it from street etiquette, I got you, dog. I've been out here in these streets for a good clean minute.
But most importantly, and for me as the guy, is just the idea of bringing out who you are as a person to everybody else, and really focusing on the Hispanic culture, and just getting a better idea of what we can do, not only as Hispanic men, but as white men and white women, and Chinese men and Chinese women.
But on that sense, I feel like what it means we can speak at culturally, because at the end of the day, guess what? The China man and the white man and the black man came to the Western Hemisphere. And if we have one thing to teach, it's a different ideology. If you believe in Jesus Christ, I'm here to challenge that belief. And mind you, no disrespect to the idea of salvation through sins or whatnot, you feel me? But I just feel that the homie didn't know tortillas that well.
Yeah.
So, he has a few matzo balls short of a caldo.
Okay. You're right. And to me, the way that you are able to explain your ideas, regardless of how controversial they may appear to other people, lends itself to not only the knowledge that you have, but the potential, water, which is kind of what, like, explain the water thing a little bit. What do you mean by water and giving people water?
So when it comes to water, I refer to the indigenous Nahua word of alt, which is ATL. And that, to me, it brings enrichment to your roots, One thing that I feel Latino and half indigenous mestizo culture is missing is our sense of what water truly represents.
Okay.
As a culture, as a people, as a community, as a movement, what we lack is water. What does it mean to have a sugar skull within your background? You feel me? Like, whether you're Colombian as yourself,
right?
Whether you're Peruvian as some people as I follow, whether you're Mexican like myself, we have an interesting relationship to death that involves water.
Okay. See, there you go. I didn't even fully understand that. So that's sort of the association that you're making when you're talking about water?
No, exactly. I'm associating us reaching deep within the ground.
Okay.
If Guns N' Roses said, "Welcome to the jungle," I'm talking about the water that reaches the jungle.
That's giving it growth.
Exactly.
That's letting it
you
grow.
Feel me? Like, right now on social media, the hot take is the Amazon rainforest burning.
Okay.
It needs water, but that water goes beyond, the rain that the water the rain provides. It goes culturally speaking, because at the end of the day, these groups that are fighting the Amazonian waters are indigenous.
Yeah.
And our indigenous roots, because being mestizo, being a half-breed, being both of this side of the planet and the other.
Yeah.
That's where our wisdom, our light, our power comes in.
Okay.
Because speaking it into existence is speaking power into it.
Okay. I mean, is there much association of like manifesting? Like you're manifesting some type of destiny by speaking it out loud?
Of course. For example, every retweet, every Instagram repost, whatever you want to call it, it brings awareness to your blind followers.
Right.
Because let's keep it a stack. Some people follow you just because they want to see you thrive. They want to see you succeed. They want to see you.
Or because I'm good looking.
No, of course, dog. You're sexy, dog. Ain't no one mad at you, dog. Shouts out to you and everything you do.
You're right. But no, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, of course, dog. But at the end of the day, whenever you're out there spreading the message, you're giving out water to people that follow you.
And that's the version of water that you're talking about.
Of
Some
course,
form of information.
Knowledge, information, something to keep you aware of the world around you instead of the world you're living in.
How do you feel about the idea of having pride in your color? Whether it's white pride, black pride, brown pride, is there an issue? Is there a natural declination to being like you're not allowed to do that? Where's the line?
I mean, in a sense, you can be, but the only reason
because you're one of the most you're so proud of being,
of who I am,
of who you are,
yeah.
And I don't necessarily feel like there's any issues with that on your end. In the same way that I don't kind of feel that there's any issues with somebody saying, "Hey, I'm proud about being white."
Of course, but at the end of the day, I feel. And mind you, this is going to remain a personal opinion, is that we've muddied the waters in what oppression and what racism is. So if I tell people I'm proud to be Mesoamerican, what does that really mean?
I don't know. I don't know.
And to me, I'll tell you, I'm proud of the fact that we had our own idea of slavery. For example, did you know that if you were a slave, you can run to your freedom if you reach the major temple within your culture's religious beliefs?
Really? No, I had no idea.
Our idea of slavery existed within your ability to run.
That's crazy.
That's wild. You feel me? At the end of the day, one of the things that fucks up American culture is the idea of slavery.
Right.
You know,
the idea of owning another human being.
It's fascinating because at the end of the day, when you sit down and really think about it, you're talking about Southern heritage as being proud of owning an individual.
Right.
You feel me? And that individual came onto you through the color of their skin.
Yeah.
Whereas we believe religiously, and understand this is religion. This religion tells you if you run to our temple, you will know freedom.
It's a crazy parallel, crazy levels. Like when you think about it, the fact that existed well before
the idea of government.
Right.
Like one thing that boggles my personal mind is the idea of socialism within the Latino community.
Okay.
I don't get the idea of comrade. I don't get the idea of, socialism. Because do you individually as a Latino want the government in your Kool-Aid?
No. But then again, I'm the first one to call a cop if I hear a weird noise at the house.
But you letting the world know that you don't want the government in your Kool-Aid.
Correct.
Has led the policies of 9/11.
I'd say so. There's probably like a thin correlation.
Oh, there's a big correlation because at the end of the day, the quote is, if you have nothing to hide, then you have nothing to run.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But it's not like this weed will make me a criminal.
Like you have no rights to argue with someone who has a gun and a badge. Like
exactly.
Yeah,
and mind you, at the end of the day, if you really look at the idea of policing, it's a racist institution.
Overall.
I mean, what did Jeff Sessions say? Policing is an Anglo-Saxon human right.
So there were no police or there was nothing like that back in the day?
There was the idea of I'm in debt, so let me enslave myself with this debt.
Okay. I mean, even further back, I don't know.
Well, I mean, if we break it down, the idea of slavery ending is a joke because the 13th Amendment didn't abolish slavery. It allows slavery during a legal term, a.k.a. criminal
incarceration.
term. No, not incarceration, criminal incarceration. So you fast forward to 20, 30 years, drug dealing is an incarceration offense. Yeah. Even though it's nothing but politicians buying the drugs. What happened in 1992-93? The mayor of the capital of the United States of America got arrested for crack solicitation.
Oh, okay. See, I know that shows you right there.
He was a black man.
Just more to show you exactly how the water's flowing over on that side.
Exactly, and mind you, if you're of Mesoamerican descent, and that's what I call the Latino descent, that means that you're living under a rule that's foreign, because indigenous people didn't have those laws.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm here to challenge the idea of Blue Lives Matter. I'm here to challenge the idea that illegals are criminals and murderers and rapists. I'm here to challenge all that because I have the unfortunate luxury of being de aquí y de allá.
Yeah.
I grew
from
up
here
under,
and from there.
Exactly. I grew up under Mexican government in which the color of your social economic status dictated your social economic life. So if you were a farmer, your children were criminals.
Damn.
That part.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
People don't realize this because at the end of the day, the woke individuals in the United States are only woke because their parents said, fuck this system.
That brings up an interesting point, especially with what's going on politically and in the news right now. Like, you being de allí and de acá, like, how do you feel about everything that's going down at the border?
On some real G shit, dog, like, I'm going to keep it a stack. I've been waiting for this.
What do you mean?
I've been waiting for the president to say, oh, yeah, they're illegals. They're invading. I've been waiting since the moment I came to this country and saw skyscrapers.
You just knew eventually that was going to happen.
Oh, entirely. Did
you think Trump was going to win?
Oh, of course. El Trompas isn't only a taco.
Facts. You're right. But you inherently knew.
Oh, of course
That
not.
wasn't something that you woke up on election day and you were surprised by.
Of course not, because at the end of the day, they've been mad at Obama. Tansu, you really gonna have a breaking news story for 6 months over the color brown of a suit?
Yeah, you're right. you take a step back at it and you look at it. You're 100% right. So what would you say? What's hood? What's the goal here? What do we want to try and achieve by?
Well, the goal here, honestly, is to make sure that people under the Latino community are under the poverty line. Doesn't matter if you're making $100K a year. Doesn't matter if you're making $20K a year. You're gonna be the minority in your own side of the hemisphere.
And what do you do at that point?
Well, at that point, you invest in the community that your parents neglected.
And that's kind of what we're trying to do here with this, right?
Exactly. We're trying to bring you back to the idea that, when it comes to indigenous, it's only 5 people away if people live to 100 years.
What do you mean?
So let's take your grandparents. You feel me? Let's say you were lucky enough to have all 4 of your grandparents.
All right.
So I'm 33. If my grandmother was alive right now, she'd be 94. So that's one lifetime.
Okay.
Her mother is another.
Oh, okay.
Her mother's mother is another.
All right, I gotcha. I get what you're saying.
So when it comes down to it, when you come down the line, you're only 3 people away from the American dream, quote unquote.
That's an interesting way of putting it.
Oh yeah, because you look at the 1700s. Because mind you, the American Revolution. Imagine if it happened in the 1970s.
Oh, I mean, probably wouldn't.
But that's the reality of it. The British Empire had been ruling for 1,000 years because Richard the Lionheart went to war for Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And you cross the ocean in 1492. But the American Revolution doesn't happen until 1776.
Almost 250 years later or something.
That part.
Yeah. You're right. And that's some of the stuff that you plan on kind of talking about and covering.
I plan on, addressing the fact that, at the end of the day, if you're racist, if you believe things like El Paso is your birthright, I got 13 colonies for you.
And I think really what it boils down to is just making sure that water or that knowledge or that information is readily available to anybody who wants to learn about it.
If you're trying to figure out what you are as someone who's coming from Colombia, Brazil, Chile, Argentina, Mexico, Honduras, Yucatan, like that comes in the sense of, here's where we're from.
And that it's just fake lines that are splitting them up.
Exactly,
we're all,
Like, for example, the Amazon rainforest is burning on purpose, not on accident. Why? Because an individual who's of mixed blood decided that capitalistic endeavors are bigger than the planet we live on.
And then took it upon themselves to burn the forest down.
Took it upon themselves to get money for burning said forest. You can look at any news report right now, and they'll tell you the farmers are complaining they want us to live on nuts, on peanuts.
That's crazy.
It's wild, but mind you, that's a government blaming the farmers, and the farmers blaming the government. When at the end of the day, the real problem is the fact that people don't understand where they're from.
And that's kind of the issues with putting walls up.
Exactly.
If you don't know where you're from.
If you don't know where you're from, you don't know how to respect this side of the planet.
Yeah.
Because this is the Western Hemisphere. Somos del maíz. We come from the corn. You feel me? And if you don't respect that, you're out of touch. If you don't understand that, and if you're from these lands, if your passport says Brazilian, Colombian, Honduran, Guatemalan, fucking Chileno, you're missing the value of the roots that came before you.
Right.
You know, for example, in Mexico, one of the biggest tourist attractions is called El Xomilco. And those are the lakes that remain of Mexico City, of the lake where Tenochtitlan was built upon, which is Lake Texcoco.
Okay.
So to understand that you're living in a sinking city,
All right.
people forget. Oh, my bad.
You're good. No, and that's exactly the type of stuff that I want to make sure that we sort of like go over and that we kind of cover, and make sure that people understand, again, that it is, one, a second home where, we're doing something that's already been done 10,000 years ago, and we're doing it with faster phones and faster cars. But I guess my biggest thing is there always going to be a wall between all races?
I mean, the only wall that exists is the wall that exists in your mind, because at the end of the day, the thriving culture is going to feed the populations. And you've been here in California for the last 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Any late night at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., can you not find tacos?
I mean, yeah, for the most part. You can.
You just got to drive down the corner, dog.
Yeah.
Be out here feeding the people.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, what I really enjoy about the idea about the show going live is that there's going to be some type of unity or understanding, whether it's just one person, whether it's a white guy or a Spanish guy or someone who's listening who goes, whoa, like something just clicked. And just that one person to me is enough to continue to keep trying to do something.
As long as that one person exists out there, that leads to the idea of water being dispersed, because that one person is going to give another person some water.
Exactly.
You feel me? He's going to give his community some idea of water that, luckily for you, we're creating out here.
And that's a big thing, just being able to continue that process of growing and feeding the next person and having that person feed the next person, and it's turtles all the way down.
Yeah, of course. At the end of the day, the idea of trickle-down economics, fucking Reagan, comes down from the idea of the Black Panthers, the Brown Berets, feeding the community the idea that you're not supposed to be treated this way. That's where the general idea of trickle-down economics comes from.
And that you're supposed to be able to watch out for your own and your own community.
And if you don't do that, what are you really doing when it comes down to trickle-down economics? You can be proud of yourself of paying a higher tax bracket, but at the end of the day, if you're not helping out your neighbor, what are you truly doing?
That's interesting. That's a good point.
But that comes from the indigenous community, though, because at the end of the day, what are we doing for one another? And not only indigenous, but minority. You feel me? You look at any liquor store, they're run by Asian enterprises. Why? We can get each other drunk. We can get each other high.
Yeah. You're right.
Why do we get?
There'd be a lot more interworking personal relationships between.
No disrespect to the Asian market. Mad love to them. You feel me? On the racist tip, I got Asian fever, bro.
Right.
But I am not mad at you. But I feel that we, as a culture, can do the same.
What's beautiful about that is that crosses all boundaries. You know what I mean? It's not just brown, Hispanic people. The black community feels the exact same way. Yeah. The Asian community, the Indian community, every community, even the whites to a certain extent. There's certain level brackets of the white community. They're like, this isn't right. And again, that's why the show is so appealing to me, is because we're gonna hopefully be able to bridge that gap between those things.
And not only that, but it also, from my side of things, it allows me an interpretation of our indigenous beliefs,
which is something I lack in, and I believe there's a lot of other people who lack in it as well.
Yeah, of course,
and you know what? With us just being here in California and call it whatever you want to call it, it would do us good to know who that first home was before we took it over. That only benefits you to know where the light switch is in a new home.
For example, people don't know that Los Angeles County is on top of Tonga, Lengua, basically for the T, territory. That's one of those things that people forget, that indigenous tribes existed here beforehand. You feel me? And I'm here to represent that idea. But at the same time, I understand that I'm of mixed blood. not to be too public with things, but for example, I'm a byproduct of rape, and I don't mean cultural rape.
Yeah.
Like that means independent of an independent belief. You
Right,
feel
right.
me? So in that aspect of things, like that's a part of our history, just to allow us a space to live.
Yeah.
And as heavy as it is, as heavy as it may sound, it's a reality that we must accept, because coming from where we come from is a negative.
Absolutely. And if you don't take time to look where you're coming from, you won't see where you're going.
Not only that, but you miss out on so much self-enriching values.
So much water.
Exactly. You're lacking water in your life to build for better. You feel me? One of the biggest things, the Mesoamerican community doesn't talk about is investing. Why? Because investing got here on a boat the exact same way as religion.
Oh, yeah, nobody has a firm understanding of that.
I mean, look at your mom. Tell her that you're investing in AT&T stocks. She's going to look at you, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, right. You're right. My mom won't know.
Exactly. Look, anyone's parents, you tell them, I put money in Coca-Cola.
That's almost a failure at the school level, too, though. You know what I mean? That's sort of...
Oh, yeah, and mind you, to any students out here listening, to anyone out there, properly finding this, that, and the other, or binge on this channel, you feel me? I hope that they're able to get water from your guys' struggle. And that's important too, you feel me? Like, as much as you give us a platform, we give you a platform too, you feel me? So whoever's listening to this, whoever's copying this, whoever's downloading this, or on any level, I hope they're listening to your guys' conversation, because guess what? You go through it too. And so does Sam. And these equivalents happen to him due to the racial injustice that happened to our cultures.
Exactly. And that's, again, I can't stress enough why I'm so excited to try and get to have this going out every week. If there was something you would tell someone who had, let's say, a white guy who is marrying into a Mexican family or Hispanic family, and he's just found this podcast, and he's like, I need to learn about the Hispanic culture, where would you point him? What direction would you point a complete novice in about learning and respecting the Hispanic culture?
I would honestly point them to the indigenous roots, which lies into the Native Americans in this side of the fucking border. I'm talking about Navajo, I'm talking about Cherokee, I'm talking about the Trollatiers.
That's where you would want them to start?
Because at the end of the day, that begins their understanding of our struggles. Like, let's keep it a bug. We as Latinos are mixed.
Oh, absolutely.
In the USA, in the United States of America, the Navajo, the Cherokee, the Hopi, the whatever tribe exists on there, and I'm only calling the ones I see from California and Arizona, start there. Because their stories are as much as Latino stories. Because at the end of the day, the reality is that they're our cousins.
Yeah.
If you're in the U.S., they're primos. I don't give a fuck how you call it. You've been in Arizona. You lived in Arizona. I've
been right by the reservations.
You know fry bread, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fry bread is deep fried masa.
Yep.
Miss me with the we're not related.
You're right. You're right. And those are the lines and the connections that can be found, as
everywhere within Canada, the U.S.,
everywhere.
Alaska, down to Chile, Brazil, and any other southern country. You feel me? Like, these are the roots I'm trying to expose. This is the corn I'm trying to give each other, because guess what? At the end of the day, we're all eating tortillas when we go home.
Well said, my friend. I like that, too, as a starting off point. You would never think about that, but it makes things a little bit easier to digest when you associate it with someone who's, where you're a little more.
Of course.
The American culture is a little more familiar with the Native American plight than
exactly.
they are with,
the
Mesoamerican.
And being Latino means you're indigenous to that culture. Just because they had a different set of gods doesn't separate you from their culture.
Right.
They still cultivated for the land.
Yeah.
We exist in a time where farmers are for profit instead of for cultivation.
Yeah.
Sugar corn
Corn syrup.
Corn syrup, cane sugar, that's all for profit because Europeans like that azúcar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shout out to Celia
no
Cruz.
nutritional value. Literally
Nothing
just
at all
to taste
whatsoever.
good.
And that's what Europeans need, and shout out to them. You know, anyone that eats pizza or enjoys Italian, I hope they enjoy it with olive oil because there's no tomate in it.
Well said, my friend.
I'm just speaking the facts, dog.
You're right.
The tomato didn't get there till the 1530s.
That's crazy.
The Virgen de Guadalupe didn't arrive until 1521. Miss me.
Psh, drop those stats, homie. That's what this is about.
And that's what I'm here for, though. As long as we're able to give our roots water, we're bound to excel. I mean, look at the facts. J Balvin led Despacito to 5 billion spins. That's one Latino.
It'd be impressive to see what everybody could do.
Exactly. You feel me? Bad Bunny is hitting 3 billion spins. Nadia Natasha, another reggaeton artist, 2 billion. And then you have the American crossover Becky G hitting 1 billion. Tell me how we're a minority.
I like that. And if anything, I think that perfectly exemplifies what you're trying to do with the show.
And honestly, I hope people tune in because at the end of the day, it's not only my perspective, it's my people's perspective. And we've been out here, you feel me?
Yeah.
We deal with the cops, we deal with the political, social, and economic status. We deal with racist, corporations, dog. Like, we're out here living a life in which we're dealing with the bars put in front of us for us to leap and jump over.
I couldn't have said it any better myself as far as the inside of the book that you open up to read what it's about. FC, let's just talk about final thoughts, the name of the show, and just kind of your overall message that you want to try and send everybody out to.
So the final thoughts is, shout out to anyone listening to this first and foremost. You took however amount of your time to listen to a homie speak and, listen to, another co-host of this, that, and the other, break bread with a homie. You feel me?
Very
first
happy.
And foremost, shout out to all of them. Shout out to your show as well, too. You feel me?
Thank you.
Like, we need that in life. You feel me? We got to support each other. You feel me? And, like, at the end of the day, if you want to change capitalism, invest in local. And
there
that
you
goes
go.
to anybody and everybody out there. You
Amen.
Feel me?
You hear that, government?
Support local. You feel me?
You're right.
These
You're
weed
right.
prices are out the fucking control.
Out of the fucking.
I don't fucking agree with them.
And we knew the minute they legalized
illegal,
that.
of course, it was coming,
We
dog.
saw that shit
But
coming.
we'll talk about that later. But on some real G shit, if you listen to this podcast, if you listen to us, if you listen to this, that, and the other, if you listen to whatever other content we produce, I hope you get the value of self-worth. 2020, love yourself better. 2019, love yourself. Like, keep it a stack, you feel me? If the Mayans said the world ended in 2012, I'm here to give it new birth.
And that's really what the show's about. And honestly, like I said, I can't say it any better myself. It's like, get out of my head, my guy. FC, I can't thank you so much for taking the time to sit down here with me and talk a little bit.
You feel me? The show's called What's Hood because we out here politicking in hood stratospheres. You feel me? I hope you find value. This, that, and the other. Binge on this.
You got it.
Mad love. You feel me?
Big things coming, guys. Remember, What's Hood with FC. That's going to be premiering on Binge on This on YouTube. And make sure that you guys go check that out along with Happy Hour with Perry News. Perry News, who brings 30 minutes of beautiful moments within your life because today it just seems so down, but it's really not out. And This, That, and the Other, world famous podcast. 5 stars on Rotten Tomato, 1 star by the critic score, 49% by the audience score.
We out here.
We're still rocking pretty hard. Make sure that you guys go ahead and follow us, subscribe. Make sure that you check out the rest of the content that we have available. And make sure that you guys download us on iTunes, Stitcher, CastBox, Spotify. And
peace and much love.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, love each other, stay safe, and dream the dream of 1,000 dreams.